first out of 5 questions. How did you get started doing what you're doing?
I was in some kind of town thing. In third grade, I got to sing Wait for the Wagons as a solo at Southwest Elementary School. And I remember this sensation. I started singing the song, I had a nice voice, soprano voice. Started singing this song, and it got real quiet, and everybody started looking. And I thought, I like this. I also used to listen to, I'm old enough that when I was 4 or 5 and 6 years old, we did not have a television. We had radio, and I used to listen to cowboy shows on the radio. And my life goal was to be a movie cowboy when I was 4 or 5. And then I kind of gradually changed to wanting to be a composer and an artist. In high school, in junior high, I got a role in the high school's production of Music Man. I got to play Winthrop, Peru. So I was on my way to doing stage, and I started playing piano at age 2nd grade and started composing when I was in 3rd grade. So I started writing music and musicals and things. I wrote a piece for my high school graduation, and so I was all the time writing music, and then I switched to writing plays. Right after college, when my wife and I stayed here in Lawrence, Kansas, Camelot on the Caw, I decided to be artists in Lawrence, and so we started doing shows we did children's theater because we thought it would be easy and make lots of money. And anybody in the field of youth theater will tell you it is neither of those things, if it's done well. Although, we made some money because we toured shows for kids all across the country, 37 states, and a couple of countries. So I got my start, and I just kind of fell into it, always loved it. 3rd child, to get attention, I had to show off.
Sweet. Second question, what motivates you to keep playing and sharing your art?
It's almost a cliche, but it's just true. Performers, musicians, artists, playwrights, actors, they need to do it. It's just a creative outlet. It's something you're compelled to do it. I write because if I didn't write and didn't compose, I wouldn't be fulfilling a great part of what really in some way of gifts I've been given. I wouldn't be sharing those with the world if I weren't doing them. And I'm so compelled by those gifts that it gives me great satisfaction. I mean, this is one of the jobs where you really are it's so different from a day job, because you're working with people and you can't exist without them, without the connection between other people. I really think that music and theater are kind of a mystical experience that connects people together in a really interesting way. In fact, I often quote Dr. Don Schwang from Bishop Seabury, who's a great theater artist. His thesis was about the connection between the audience, the performer, and the material. And it's a triangle. And when that triangle all feeds each parts of the triangle, when they're all feeding each other, that's when it works. That's when you have those shows that are magnificent and beautiful and perfect, because the actors have mastered and are living the work's there, and the audience just connects completely with them. So that sense of connection with an audience, theater and music, in that way, they are a ritualistic bringing together of people. They both come. I mean, all early religions use music and theater in many ways. We come from that school, so I feel called to do music and theater in the same way you'll hear a minister say that's their calling, that's what they have to do. And because it's something that I just do, it's not really something you necessarily retire from. You just keep doing it because it's just what you do. I do it because I couldn't not do it.
That's awesome, dude. How does your art connect with the community?
I was lucky enough to be one of the many artists that have perceived that you can work from anywhere. You don't have to live in LA, you don't have to live in New York to be a success in the field, especially as the world's gotten smaller digitally and all that. There used to be state associations of theater where the statewide people would get together and do auditions and workshops and things, because that was about as distant you could get people together. And now then it went to regional, and now those conferences are national and international. It's so much easier for people to get in touch. So I've been on boards of national and international children's theaters. And now I've lost track of the real question though. Go back to the original question.
How does your art connect with the community?
Oh, yeah, that's the way to connect. Yeah, my art eventually connected with the international community when I began to serve on boards for Theater for Young America, the USA. Theater for Young America is an international organization. So I began first to connect with other theaters and trying to sell our shows, going to conferences to sell shows. So our community became this community of the whole country, everywhere in the United States. Plus the plays that I wrote got out. Some, you know, I have about 25 published plays, and so those get done places. So I still have outreach of those ideas, you know. And they still, I mean, I'm a part of that greater, I'm a part of the greater national youth theater community, and have been very active that way, being on the board of TYA and on the board of International Performing Arts for Youth, which is another group that I served on the board of. And then locally in Lawrence, I've been involved with Summer Youth Theater since its inception, since the early 70s. And that gives us an opportunity to work with students. So my wife Jeannie, who's a theater teacher, taught theater here. We ran a summer theater for years out at Apple Valley Farm, which was an adult theater, but a lot of the actors that worked for me there would then work for me in the winter, touring children's theater, doing it all around the country, because you know, that became our community. So we were very based in Lawrence. We did shows every, you know, in the early days we did shows every weekend, changing shows once a month for about 10 years, and then we started a more normal theater season of 3 to 4 shows a year. I've been doing this for 50 to 60 years with a minimum of 4 to 10 shows a year, so I don't know the number of shows I've written or directed or been in. It is an extremely large number. I do know that we had one year where we clocked it, that we did 248 days or evenings of the year we were in performance.
Holy
That many times at the height of touring and stuff.
Oh, man.
So it was a big community, and I love my national community. Some of the most fun people in the world. Elizabeth knows this too. I had a really good friend, a big old guy named Scott Copeland, who had this giant dragon tattoo on his arm. Because their theater mascot was a dragon. And he's just such an influential and cool person. And we made you know, fabulous friends from all over the country, who we then, you know, got opportunities to work with. I got a lot of opportunities to work at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. That is its name. That has always been its name and will be. And I had several works developed there, and they actually commissioned some works there. So that was part of my community too.
That's awesome, dude.
It's fun. I'm lucky. I have a lot of luck. And I'm a survivor. I've had the theater fall apart and come back, fall apart and come back, fall apart and come back. This theater never makes money.
Yeah.
You always have to have support. And except for Broadway. Some Broadway shows know how to make money.
You can say that again.
And good for them.
What kind of legacy would you want to leave behind?
Hey, you know, I'm so happy right now that they've done. I got in the Music Hall of Fame. They named a Performing Arts Fund at the Lawrence Arts Center, which is predominantly for Summer Youth Theater, but also for performing arts in general. After my wife and I, you know, so I kind of just enjoying continuing to do what I'm compelled to do, what I love to do, connecting with people, and I have an embarrassment of riches in terms of like awards and legacies and High School Hall of Fame. And it's like all the appreciation that anybody could ever show me is just a small part of what I owe everybody in this town for making this town such a fertile place for creativity. Lawrence is, I mean, it is extremely tolerant. I mean, there's almost a glut of artists. If you're just working in Lawrence, it's hard to make money. But if you're one of the many artists, both visual and performing artists, that branches out and works in different places and uses this as a home base, it's entirely possible to be, you know, a national artist and still live in Lawrence, Kansas. So, you know, that just kind of sitting in the legacy that so many other people have enabled me to help create is a joyous retirement. I say to many people, and I've even struggled with some crazy C-word diseases, but I'm still the happiest I've ever been in my life. The last 5 years, I've been about the happiest I've ever been. So, I'm not sure.
So wonderful.
Final question. what advice would you give to young people who are interested in creating and sharing their own art/music?
It's very easy. It's 2 words. Do it. And there's 3 words. Do it yourself. If you can't have other people do it, I've told so many people, you want to play a role in a really cool play? Well, go out and find your friends that got the same kind of talent, pull them together, put on that play, and play that role. Do it. You want to start a children's theater because it strikes you maybe that'd be cool. Maybe on Saturday mornings we could entertain kids, and that way we could build our ensemble, and then sometimes we'll do odd, strange shows for adults in the evenings. Do it. You know, the people that produce their own work, they make connections with the other people that do the work with them. The other thing is to network, and never discount anybody in the world. Don't discount anybody. Even the most annoying, egotistical actor who doesn't seem to notice anything but themselves can end up being a really important resource. Plus, I know an actor like that who was really, really very good, so I just kept hiring him back, and eventually we became friends, despite an almost toxic personality. I mean, it just, but everybody could be important, so you show respect for everybody, you do small parts, and if you're in some show, you get in some semi-professional show, and there's 4 other people in the chorus, those are the 4 people you may be on Broadway with 5 years from then, 10 years from then. Get to know them, get to know those people, and value what everybody brings to it, because also, you know, theater groups start, and you'll realize that, you know, Joe Spiegel over here is really not a very good actor, and it's slowing you down as a company, but my gosh, is he good with finances, and he could write a grant. And suddenly you got Joe Spiegel, and once in a while you give him a small role because it satisfies him, and pretty soon and people can learn acting. It is a craft. You can be terrible at it, and you can become good at it by going to classes and learning it. A lot of people think you just have to have talent to do theater. You have to have talent. You know, it's one of the wonderful things about programs in the Lawrence Public Schools and at Bishop Seabury, is that they really push for lots of kids to get involved, and they encourage them. They say, you know, do this, try this. It is possible for you. And each time you do that, you learn the next steps of what there aren't as many classes as I wish there were, but the junior highs and high school classes do have acting. Everybody should take an acting class. The best experience, of course, is being in shows. Shows themselves are classes. Your directors are teachers, whether, you know, even if they don't like being it, they're teachers. Even if they teach bad habits, which some directors do, even if the director isn't a kind person, and you'll find that occasionally, it's somebody that you learn from, and you get teachers of all different kinds. So, you know, it's about listening and applying yourself, and just doing it. Just don't. I was stuck on my latest work, which is a big musical, and I was just hit a dead place. And I was talking to my son, who's also a writer, and he reminded me that Ernest Hemingway said, if you want to be a writer, it's very simple. What you do is write. Get up and write for 2 hours. And Will said, just sit down, it doesn't matter if it's good or not, just write. If you think you have to write, and then half the time, the first 20 minutes will be garbage, and then you'll stumble onto something that really works well. And the same thing with acting. You know, just keep doing it, and you will get better at it if you listen. If you don't think you already know everything. That's an important other thing, to really adopt some Greek philosophy and know one thing that you know nothing.